So we're going to see the lecture on the business model canvas by Alexander Osterwalder now, and I'm going to share my screen. And now we need to make the image nice and large so that it covers the entire screen. Right, do you all see the first screen where it says Smune Innovation Business Model Canvas? I assume you do.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the confirmation. Wonderful. So let's look at this thing. The business model canvas is just a compact little planning tool, actually, that I have personally found immensely useful for any instance of developing a project that has commercial implications. It comes from this man, Dr. Alexander Osterwalder in Lausanne, Switzerland. He's still with us, so this is not some famous dead person, but he's still very much alive and an academic. And this is pretty much what it looks like. So we are looking at a big sheet of paper with 9 words on it. And these 9 words are basically the 9 key points that define the most important elements of what one should think about when you're developing anything that might have commercial implications. Don't look at it too hard, it's boring. I'm going to give you a nice, lively example now here. We're going to walk through these 9 points on 9 pages showing how it actually works. So just for the fun of it, let's say our project is that we're going to start a restaurant. When we start a restaurant, we have exactly 9 different things that we need to think about, and they're listed here. We'll start with the first one. The first thing we should think about is, do we need any key partners who are going to help us start this, who are going to maintain the relationship with us as we run this business? And who are them? It's quite obviously, actually, the bank. We will always need money for a business. Maybe it comes from investors, maybe it comes from our own private funding, but we need to think about those who are going to keep supplying us with money, regardless of the earnings that we may have. As a restaurant, obviously, we need our produce from somewhere. So this could be a local supermarket chain. This could more likely be a wholesaler who deals with food. And that would be hopefully a very reliable partner for us, who brings us all our potatoes and all our meat and all the things that we regularly require. And then we are also going to have somebody who brings us all the auxiliary aspects, like who brings us the ketchup, who brings us the mustard. So these would be the kinds of partners that we are talking about when we're looking at a business model canvas. It could also mean that you have business partners who go into this venture with you, people who share the risk with you, your friends, right? Maybe you have 2 friends you're starting this business with, and they're all signing on and they're carrying the risk with their name juristically. So those are also key partners. Now, how does this continue now? The next question, so point 2 of 9, is what key activities are going to take place in our restaurant? And by key activities, we mean routines that happen all the time. The typical stuff that goes on every day in this business so that it can keep doing what it's doing. Now, in my opinion, I've never run a restaurant, obviously, but I think a key activity in a restaurant is the preparation of the food. And it is all the taking of payment, paying for resources, paying for fish, paying for electricity. But the key activity really is what you need to know for your business. What is the main thing you do? What defines your business activities? Then we're going to have some key resources. Key resources for a restaurant obviously would be anything that helps you prepare food, such as a grill and an oven and a barbecue and all those things, and all your utensils, all your knives and forks, but also regularly your actual food. And don't forget that the people who work with you are also resources for you. So your staff are actually resources because they are part in creating the value of what you're offering to the world. The fourth point is the so-called value propositions. This, in my opinion, is the most interesting of them all, and perhaps the one you might want to start with, because it's how you can differentiate what you bring from the competition. But we don't want just another restaurant that does whatever, right? We want a restaurant that offers something special. Perhaps it's a restaurant that is entirely environmentally friendly and has nothing in it that makes animals suffer. So it's probably a vegan restaurant, and 10% of what it earns goes to the pandas. I don't know. It could be something like that. So the value proposition is basically the question, how are you making the world a better place by getting this business idea going? Of course, we know that not every business is supposed to make the world a better place, but it's pretty obvious that those that do have what they call a point of difference, and that makes them special and that makes them succeed more, for the very simple reason that if you deliver something special that nobody else is delivering, then you don't have that much competition anymore. Customer relationships. How are we going to treat our customers? And of course, you'll say, oh, we'll be very polite. And of course, we should be. That's normal. But there are other things that we need to think about. For example, are you going to have customers who walk in off the street? Do you believe that your customers may come back? Will there be regular customers? And if there are, do you want to have maybe some kind of an incentive program where they buy 4 meals and get the 5th one free or some such thing? Or do you want to have a restaurant that does everything online and none of your clients or customers actually ever walk into the restaurant because it all gets delivered out? So it's these kinds of questions that are dealt with by the question of the customer relationships. The next point is obviously the customer segments. Who actually are our customers? There will be certain personas, certain types of people who are going to be our main type of customer. That's just how the world is. And it's going to be pretty clever to become very clear on that very quickly. Because even though there are all types of people in the world, not all of them are going to find our business interesting. So it's realistic to create your business for a certain type of person. Maybe a hierarchy of 10 different types of person, allot a certain percentage to each one. Something like that. The 7th point here is the channels through which you are actually going to reach the world. So again, it's a restaurant we're starting here, right? So our channels here would be, maybe we have a website so people are able to search where we are and what we offer. And the next thing might be that perhaps we have radio commercials, perhaps we have TV commercials. Another thing is we might have a delivery service, or we just have a perfectly normal restaurant with tables where people sit and eat. So even the tables, in a way, are channels for us to reach our customers. And every time something pops up on my screen, I can't click further. Now I can. Okay, and then finally, these two important, but perhaps not so exciting points, the money stuff, the cost structure. Everything we're doing in our restaurant is going to cost us money in the first place, right? So we need to be pretty clear about which things will cost us money first and how much money they're probably going to cost us. So make a list of everything that you will need to spend money on first, every day or for the startup or both. So for example, we're going to need fuel for the Vespa, for the moped that our delivery person goes out with. We may need to pay for our TV commercials. Our staff will have salaries. Our food needs to be paid for first before we could cook it. We may need to replace our equipment every 3 years because it's just worn out, and so on. So this is the cost structure of this entire venture. And then finally, where will the money actually come from? How do we generate the money to keep this thing going? And ideally, not just to keep it going, but to make a profit. So perhaps the restaurant only makes food and sells it to people. But perhaps there are other things. Maybe you know the Hard Rock Cafe. They're doing merchandising. They also sell T-shirts saying Hard Rock Cafe. And I think I've read somewhere that they're meanwhile earning a lot more money from the T-shirts than they do from the food and the coffee that they're making. So think about all the different possibilities that you have with your particular project to bring in money. And that becomes part of your revenue stream. So now we've talked about all these 9 different aspects that define the business model canvas. And the good man, Alexander Osterwalder, is convinced that these 9 aspects are enough to successfully run a business. So if you have an answer to all of these, it's very likely that your business is going to be off to a good start. I'm going to stop the presentation here. And the recording as well.